Hello, so hopefully you've had a go at making a couple of games in Scratch so far. Now we want to look at, instead of making a whole game, we want to understand how to do certain things, how to do certain tasks, and using these we could actually improve our games in the future. Because we don't want Scratch to just be about making games. You can make some really cool programs that aren't about playing and having fun, but they can still be quite cool. So these tasks hopefully will be reasonably straightforward, tasks 1.1, 1.2 and 1.3. So as we're going through these, have a go yourselves and then I'll show you how to actually complete them. Okay, so task 1.1, get a sprite to say hello world when the green flag is clicked. This is the most straightforward program you can make. So have a go at it and then I'll show you how to actually solve this in Scratch. Okay, so I wanted to show you first a flowchart for it. Because any tasks, a flowchart will help us visualize what we need to do. We start when the green flag is clicked. This is our event that actually makes the code run. When the green flag is clicked, we want the character to say hello world, and then we finish. So we need to reproduce this flowchart now, but using Scratch drag and drop blocks. So you've got our character, and what we want to do is when the green flag is clicked, so as it's an event, you'll find it in the events block, and then we want to say something. So the character is outputting something to the screen, there'll be something displayed on the screen, therefore it's in looks. And there's a block there, say hello for 2 seconds. Now I want him to say hello world, so I can add in here the word world. And now to test that it's worked, I press the green flag. When the green flag is clicked, he'll say hello world. And he does. So that's task 1.1 done. Now task 1.2, I want you to try and adjust your code so the character says hello world, but this time when the space key is pressed, not when the green flag is clicked. Have a go at this one, pause the video, come back. Okay, so for this one, if I was going to look at a flowchart for that, the event that runs the code is changing. Instead of having a green flag is clicked, we want when the space key is pressed. And then the code is actually doing the same thing. So if I go back to Scratch, the event is changing. So when green flag clicked, we can get rid of that. Get a different event, which is when the space key is pressed. Join them up. So now if I click the green flag, nothing happens. But if I press the space key, he says hello world. That's task 1.2 done. So task 1.3, I want you to add a second character to your game and use a broadcast block to get this character to automatically say something in response to the first character. So you would have used broadcast blocks in the tutorials you've done before. Now we want to use it so that when the character's finished talking, he sends a secret message and another character listens for that message and then replies by saying something on the screen. Okay, have a go at the task, pause the video, and then come back and I'll show you. Okay, so with this one, it'd be odd to make a flowchart for it because this is the flowchart for the first character, but before he finishes, we also want to add in another block. Now, I'm not really sure what to use this for this block, but we'll use this rectangle. And I want him to broadcast a message. We might call it your turn. Okay, so he's going to broadcast a message called your turn. Now, when you broadcast, all that does is it sends a secret message to the game, to any character that is listening for it. Oh, better join up the arrows. And then what we'd actually need is another character. This is actually should be a subroutine, really. So I should lose that block, but never mind. And then when this one receives, your turn. Oh, I keep pressing the @ symbol. then this one is going to say something as well. So I'm going to copy that over here. And it'll say hello to you too. And then it's going to end. Okay, so the first character says something when the space key is pressed. He says hello world, and then he broadcasts a secret message, and he stops. So at this point, he doesn't do anything else. But once he's broadcast the message, your turn, then the other character starts their code, their instructions. So when it receives your turn, it says hello to you too, and then it finishes. Okay, so when space key pressed, say hello world for 2 seconds, and then we want to broadcast. So I've called it your turn to speak. So if you want to write your own message, you click in here, new message, and type what you want. I'm going to leave it as this for now. I'm going to add a second character. We'll get Abby in here, who has no instructions yet. But what does she do? Well, when she receives your turn to speak, when I receive your turn to speak, say hello to you too, and then end. So say hello to you too. So if we press the space key, remember, he says hello world, and then broadcast the message, she receives it and says hello to you too. Let's do it again. Okay, so she only starts the code once he's finished talking, and then you see it light up. And that's how you use a broadcast in Scratch. Okay, now the next 2 tasks, you can choose if you want to do them. They're very mathematical, and they are challenge tasks, but you should be able to do it if you give it a go. So have a go at them. It's not really easy, and there's a few different ways you could do this, depending on how much Scratch you've done before. But I'll show you the simplest way, I think. So pause the video and then come back. Okay, so I'm going to do this without using any variables, because we'll look more in depth at variables in the next video. So what do we want it to do? We want the character to calculate and say the result of the expression 42 times 64 divided by 89 minus 4. So here what I'm looking at is, I know I need to do a multiplication, I know I need to do a subtraction, and I'll have to do a division as well. So if I get rid of Abby, because I don't need her anymore, I'm going to want the character to say, and as I said before, I know I need a multiplication, I need a subtraction. So these are green operator blocks. So anything mathematical you'll find in the operators. And I need a division. So those are the 3 blocks. And what goes in each block? So 42 multiplied by 67. 42, 67. Subtraction, 89 minus 4. 89 and 4. And then what goes in division? Well, it is the top of the fraction, 42 times 67. And then on the bottom is 89 minus 4. So these actually fit in like this. If I drag this, so the left-hand side of the block fits into where I want it to go. Like that, you can see it lighting up. Then on the bottom of my subtraction, I now have my fraction, sorry. I now have 89 minus 4. And on the top, we want 42 times 67. And that is the full equation. So by putting the blocks together, I've got the full equation. Now I can actually drag this into the say block. So instead of saying hello, what he'll now say is the answer to this question. So he basically made a little calculator for calculating an equation. So Scratch can do maths too, not just games. If we press space, then the answer is 33.11. Okay, he's pretty fast at doing maths. So that's the answer to task 1.4. And then 1.5, we need to get the character to calculate the square root of 5 multiplied by the square root of 6. As a hint, can you find a square root function? So in operators, again it's mathematical, we can find this block down here. Now normally it says abs of and something. So right at the bottom of the maths ones, you can actually drag this in and change what kind of function you want. So there's lots of different mathematical functions there. Depending on what age you are, you would have heard of sin, cos and tan. But square root is the opposite of to the power of, and it's sqrt there. Now I wanted two of them. Because I want the square root of 5 and the square root of 6, I can duplicate by right-clicking on the block and clicking duplicate. I wanted the square root of 5 and the square root of 6, and I wanted to multiply those two things together. So I need a multiply block. And now we just slot them in like we did before. So I've got the square root of 5 multiplied by the square root of 6. Drag it into the say block, connect all the blocks up, and then when I press the space key, calculates it to be 5.48. And that's all of task 1 done. So the next task, in the next video, I'll show you some tasks which will get you used to using variables a bit more in Scratch.